There are few things quite as satisfying as popping a Ratman's head like a grape, or cutting that head clean off, or possibly blasting it away with a shotgun, or just burning the whole thing to a crisp. The truth is, just about every one of the multitude of ways Warhammer Vermintide 2 gives you and your co-op team to kill your enemies is punchy, powerful, and a whole lot of fun. I've been playing the pre-order beta for the last week, and there's still a whole lot more to try, but here's what I think so far. The best things about this Left 4 Dead style action game are the sights and sounds of its brutal combat. When you connect with a mace or a sword, the feedback is forceful enough that you can practically feel it reverberate in your bones. Blunt weapons will send bodies flying, while bladed options will slice off heads. It's a display that's even more spectacular when cutting through huge waves at once. The dozens of weapons available to you are varied enough that each one feels different, but all are useful enough that there are no bad choices. That said, the combat tactics in Vermintide 2 aren't as deep as its weapon pool. Most fights involve circling around hordes of Skaven or zombie-like chaos soldiers, swinging at the head and occasionally avoiding stronger attacks. Special elite enemies will shake things up by grabbing you or throwing out gas and fire, but they're similarly taken down. It's simple hack-and-slash fun, but nowhere near as strategic as the timing-reliant battles of something like Chivalry Medieval Warfare. So far, the ranged weapons aren't quite as satisfying as Vermintide 2's melee options, but whole characters can revolve around using a fast-firing bow or a hard-hitting gun instead of a sword. There are 5 characters to choose from, each with 3 versions called careers that have a unique passive and active ability. For instance, Marcus Gruber's default mercenary career encourages wide melee swings, while his huntsman career that unlocks at level 7 focuses on ranged combat. Vermintide 2 encourages you to experiment and explore everything it has to offer, so it's easy to swap and change your mind. So far, I'm most enjoying the swinging flail of witch hunter Victor Saltzpyre, who specializes in taking down elites fast. The good news is that there are 0 microtransactions in Vermintide 2. However, the big, ugly catch that slightly undermines this interesting and adaptable system is how you unlock and upgrade your equipment. Randomized loot boxes. Though not as bad as something like Star Wars Battlefront 2, I still find this kind of progression extremely unsatisfying because you don't have much control over what rewards you're working toward. And in this case, the loot usually isn't that interesting. It's thrilling to find a brand new type of weapon, but it's boring to find that same weapon again, this time with a power rating of 38 instead of 35. The 3 types of items that aren't a melee or ranged weapon are as dull as the metal they're made of. So far, I've just mindlessly clicked the biggest number item I have for these and scrapped the rest for materials. The saving grace is that Vermintide 2 has a pretty robust crafting system that lets you break down extra items to create new ones, upgrade current ones, or even re-roll bonus attributes, which helps combat the inherent randomness. So while I'm not completely turned off by the loot system, it could potentially get stale before long. But one thing that won't get old is Vermintide 2's downright gorgeous locations, which are bright and inviting without feeling out of character with the doom and gloom that takes place within them. That said, I've only seen 6 different missions in the betas so far, and most of them feel relatively similar and straightforward in terms of actual level design. There are occasionally shining exceptions to this, like wide wheat fields that obscure enemies, payloads to push, and some creative mission finales, but they don't break up the simpler walking sections as much as I'd like. That's where I'm at with Warhammer Vermintide 2 right now, but I'll need to spend time with the full game to make sure it stays that way. It's a beautiful game, and I'm in love with the hard-hitting, meaty melee weapons, but I'm a little nervous about its long-term appeal. If I had to score it now, I'd give it an 8.0 for great. Check back next week for my full review. For more on Vermintide 2, check out 8 minutes of beta gameplay, or our Kerillian character spotlight. And for everything else, keep it right here on IGN.